Welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks. I'm your host Caleb. Today we're going to be talking about how we can make your EDH decks more consistent. I'm going to give you guys 4 tips that if you follow these 4 tips, you're not only going to become a better brewer, you're also going to just make more consistent decks right off rip. Everybody hates the feeling of when they build a deck, they take it to a playgroup, and it just doesn't do the thing. Following these tips will ensure that you're just going to end up making more consistent decks, and they're going to work the first time you play them. So without further ado, click on that Whatnot link, claim your free $15, get 10% off all of your Tolarian Library proxies, and then let's get right into it. So super excited to announce I'm now partnering with Baron of Dice to bring your TCG accessories to the next level. These deck boxes are put simply just eye-catching. I'm obsessed with the leather exterior on these. It just makes the art look super unique, and that's what you're looking for whenever you're trying to show off your deck. The playmats are also super high quality. They have a non-slip backing along with hand-stitched edges featuring that eye-popping art drawn by legendary artists in the space like Ron Spencer. They're also giving me a 5% discount code for all of you guys in the audience. Again, thank you Baron of Dice for sponsoring this channel. The first thing I want to talk about is just cutting your doubling effects. This past year, I've cut a ton of doubling effects from my deck, and I have not missed them at all. I call these if-then cards, right? Let's talk about Doubling Season. It's a 5 CMC card, and it says whenever a token is created under your control, you get double those tokens, and you get to put double the amount of counters on your creatures. So this is good if you have a card in your hand that makes a lot of tokens. But if you don't have a card in your hand, it does absolutely nothing. Now, obviously, you're putting this in a strategy that wants to double up on all of your tokens and whatnot, but the whole point of this is, let's say we cut Doubling Season and we just put a card in the deck that makes tokens instead. That's going to mean your deck is consistently making more tokens because you have more cards in your deck that are making the tokens. Now, there are niche cases where Doubling Season is very good, but I genuinely think it's overrated in a lot of these strategies, and you really just want a creature that does the thing you want. That's what I mean when I say if-then card, right? I cut these cards first. It's only good if you have a card in your hand that generates a lot of tokens, then that card's going to generate double those tokens. But it's important to note what's happening here when you are generating tokens, that's doing what the deck already wants to do anyway. So let's just focus on doing exactly what the deck wants to do, and then you're just going to do the thing more often than not. And I know that sounds obvious, but yeah, cut your doubling effects that don't really do the thing the deck wants to do, and just replace them with cards that do the thing wants to do. Take the Panharmonicons that double the ETBs out of your deck and shove in more cards that ETB and do something. I promise this is going to make the deck a lot more consistent, and I'm not saying you have to go down to 0. I'm just saying, like, instead of maybe like 5 amplifiers, you just include 1 or 2 that are absolutely broken, and then the rest is just going to be ETB creatures. That way you can really succeed, and the deck is just going to do the thing it wants to do way more consistently. The next point I wanted to do is early game card advantage. Card advantage is something that gets talked about a lot, but it kind of gets boiled down to include 10, 12, 14 card advantage pieces and you're good to go. But that's not exactly true. You want card advantage at all stages of the game. You want early game card advantage, consistent card advantage, and then explosive card advantage. I've got examples of all of those. The first one I want to talk about is Faithless Looting. This is a 1 CMC card, and it's not exactly card advantage, but it is just super solid. This is 1 CMC, it allows us to draw 2 cards and then discard 2 cards. So you get rid of 2 cards that aren't good in the early game for cards that hopefully are good, like maybe you missed your land drop. This gives you an opportunity to find that land drop. Additionally, you can flash it back to draw another 2 cards and discard 2 more cards. So this 1 card allows you to dig 4 cards deep and find those land drops, and that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about early card advantage. Consistent card advantage is your Beast Whisperer effects. These are cards that stick on the battlefield and give you consistent card advantage. You cast a creature spell, you get to draw a card, and you're going to do that several times a game. Decks need this. And then finally, let's talk about the explosive card advantage. You have Rishkar's Expertise. This one allows you to draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. Then you can cheat some cards into play, but really we just want to talk about the card advantage here. And this is what I'm saying whenever I'm like, we need early game, we need mid game, and we need late game card advantage, because if you shove your deck full of a lot of Rishkar's Expertise, you need to get the 6 mana before that's usable. that means there's going to be absolutely no card advantage in the early game. So if you're just counting your card advantage, saying I need 12 pieces, I have 12 pieces, and none of those are able to be cast on turn 1 or 2, you need to go back to the drawing board, include some of those early card advantage pieces, and I promise you that's just going to make your deck more consistent. You're going to consistently get more of your land drops, and you're just going to find the pieces you need more often because you're seeing a bigger portion of your deck earlier on in the game. Early card advantage, I cannot harp on it enough. It's super important, and I feel like nobody talks about this. Card advantage just gets ramped into one ball and talked about as a whole, but there's a lot of different sources. The next thing we're going to be talking about is mana curve, and I'm talking to you Timmy players here. We do not need a 4 CMC mana curve, barring your insane strategies like Kalia. Yes, you're going to run a lot of 8 drops in Kalia, and the mana curve is going to be insane, but that's a very specific deck. In your main decks that just want to cast the majority of their spells, you need to keep that mana curve between 3 and 3.5. 3.5 if it includes green, and 3 if it doesn't. That's kind of my go-to. And even for your decks that don't include green, if it does go to 3.5, you need to be including a lot of mana rocks to justify including that high mana curve. And what I'm talking about here is your average CMC in the deck, if that wasn't obvious. So if we have an average CMC or mana curve of 4, that means you need 8 mana on the battlefield to cast 2 spells, which is absolutely insane. So if we make our average mana curve 3, that means we're casting 2 spells as soon as turn 6, and that's going to enable us to catapult ourselves ahead of our opponents a lot easier than waiting till turn 8 to be able to cast 2 spells a turn. Now that's ignoring all the ramp and everything, but you guys understand the point I'm trying to make. The faster you can get your deck to casting upwards to 2 spells a turn, not only is it going to be working more efficiently, it's going to be catapulting you ahead of your opponents that maybe don't have an efficient deck as you do. Now, I'm not saying you have to cut all of your favorite cards that are above 7 CMC. I'm just saying maybe choose 1 or 2 and cut the rest, and then you want to keep your mana curve at a very, very low level, especially for the removal. I want the removal very low for these mana curve heavy decks. That way you can remove the opponent's important stuff that they're trying to win the game with, and you can kind of just make it to the mid game, cast your big dinosaurs, and run away with it. But you do have to be very mindful of that mana curve and don't let it run away from you. And if you do let it run away from you, I better see 20 ramp spells in that deck. That way we're able to cast those creatures very early. Number 4, if you guys throw everything out of the window and just take one thing away from this video, it needs to be this thing. You guys need to be mulligan. You guys need to learn how to mulligan, and whenever you're goldfishing your deck, playing it against yourself to see if it works, you need to be using the London mulligan and going to 6 and then 5 and then 4. This does 2 things. One, it's going to ensure that you're not embarrassed at your playgroup. You don't show up and you're like, I need another 7, I need another 7, this hand's unplayable. Every deck is very good if you just keep drawing 7 cards until you find the cards you need to have a very good start, right? So let's make sure that we're using the London mulligan whenever we're testing our own decks, and that's just going to make it to where you're not embarrassed, and it's going to make it to where you are more comfortable piloting the deck. A lot of players are very scared to go down to 6 because they're like, I'm going to go ahead and lose a card when I'm starting. But let's be honest, that is not a huge problem whenever you're looking for card advantage pieces in your opener. Because yes, you're going down in card advantage right now. You're going down from 7 to 6, but you're going to be looking for those Beast Whisperer effects that are going to give you consistent card advantage over the course of a game. So do not be afraid to mulligan. It's going to make your decks more consistent. It's going to stop you from building a deck lazily, and it's just going to ensure that, again, your decks are going to work. That's going to do it for today. I hope this helped you guys in your deck building endeavors, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this in the future from me.